I got my hands in my pockets, feel like I'm gonna drown. If you color all the boxes, it's a pale.
Well, I've lived here, I don't know, at least, well, since the 90s, really.
Okay.
I did move back to Pittsburgh for a few years at one point in the, like the very late 90s.
Okay.
But as I was in a band out here in the 90s that you know, didn't quite get over the hump completely, but we did, we played a lot of great stuff and a lot of, a
Yeah.
lot of things here and there. But I've been out here since. I'm not really that thrilled to be out here, but it's just the best place,
Right.
work wise at this point. It wouldn't be good to move. I see a Philly
Oh,
hat back there, but
oh yeah.
I
It's
wonder
not.
why.
It is. We are. It is. It is hard. That's what I'm trying to do. One of the things we're trying to do. I mean, it is. I mean, there's very few places left. It's brutal right now. It's very
It's
difficult.
pretty much the same here, but let me tell you. I mean, it's not. I don't like to, completely cut it down, but I mean, that's why we play a lot of stuff out of LA. We go up the coast. You
I see that. Yeah.
probably noticed we go up the
Yeah.
coast quite a bit because there's
Yeah.
more places to play up there, and there are more places where the average person will go in,
Right.
and listen to music as opposed to here where everybody's in a band or everybody's an actor or something like that.
Right.
But it's there's not that. I mean, we played last weekend. We played one of the few things we've played here probably in the past year. That IPO, which is the International Pop Overthrow
I saw
Festival.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was downtown. And that was good because it's just a one set thing, and all the bands are somewhat similar. So that
Right.
was that might be the only time we've played here since we played it last August.
Oh wow.
I believe it. I
Okay.
believe it's. I believe it is. I don't think we've played anything else here, but the places here, they're just not that. I mean, they're either places where, so to speak, bigger bands play,
Right.
or there's a lot of stipulations involved too. Like, I
Right.
mean, it can even be almost a pay to play thing, which
Oh,
we're not going to do that with.
Cleary-eyed, looking at the deep blue sky, watching as a plane flies by. The backstage scene, hanging by a thread so lean, finally made you keep things in line.
when you guys sent the music to me in October of last year, and it was direct,
Uh-huh.
just through the website. So I don't know how that
Yeah.
came out. That was the album of the year. It was like just fantastic work. So
Yeah, I mean, I think the funny thing is there's a lot of, some people say there isn't good new music come out, but I mean, I hear a lot of good stuff, and I listen to different smaller stations, like what you're doing in other places. And when you start hearing the music, it's like, wow, there's some pretty good stuff out there. It's just that nobody is really doing anything with it. But I mean, that can change in a hurry. But there's stuff out there. I mean, I hear a lot of good stuff. 'Cause I hear it and I think, hey, this is, I got to
yeah,
do better because this stuff is really good. But yet, I mean, I read this thing recently where just like on commercials on TV, for example, that they want to use old songs that people recognize, like songs
right,
from, I mean, if you listen to all these commercials, songs from the 60s and 70s and 80s, and that's what they keep eating up, is stuff that people have already done. And yeah, I mean, it's known stuff, but
well,
you'd think
that's
that
the
once
big.
in a while they go, well, let's try something new here.
You would think, and the other thing is that the current scourge of which I think the scourge of the small venue music scene are tribute bands and tribute artists. It's like that's
Oh
just
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
gotta run its time, man. I mean, it's just I can't believe
Right,
it's
right. Oh,
this long. I mean, there are some
that's
great
pretty
ones,
big out here too.
but
Well, I
it's
think obviously from what I've heard from other musicians is it pays pretty
it pays
well. I
well.
mean, that's the thing. If somebody wants to, I mean, if I was just looking to make money,
Right.
I mean, of course I am, but not just, I mean, I'd rather just work a regular job to a certain extent than do that. But others, I can understand that it's a living for them. So,
Sure.
I mean, I understand that, but you're right. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, these tribute bands. It's amazing.
It's just
We have an ex drummer of ours is even playing in a Simon and Garfunkel tribute band. It's like, how do you do a Simon and Garfunkel tribute? How do you drum in a Simon and Garfunkel tribute band?
I will tell you what.
I'm at one out.
What was the reason you were coming out here to begin with? Just to play? Or?
Well, we've done that. This will be the third time that we've played some back east because I'm originally from Pittsburgh and John's originally from Albany, New York. So what's happened is we've included sort of things like for example, John has a family wedding in Baltimore a few days after we play. So it was kind of based around that. Like 6 months ago, he said, "Hey, if we want to go back east again, I got to go to a wedding," So then and we have a drummer. We have a drummer now that's very, he likes to travel around with the band. He's in pretty good shape money wise. He works in production on TV. And so he doesn't even care about any money. He's like, hey, I'll go back in the Northeast. So that's how it sort of started, this one with John as a family wedding in Baltimore. So right off the bat, we said, well, let's try Baltimore, Philly, and maybe something up towards New York City. We were thinking about Pittsburgh too, but it didn't really work out with his schedule. So it was based around. It's based around that kind of thing. Like the first time we did it back in 2019, we went to Philly and then Pittsburgh. And at the time, we were getting some pretty good airplay in Pittsburgh on a song of ours. And my niece went to CMU at the time. So she brought in tons of friends from college, and my brother was up there. So I mean, we had a big crowd for that one. So we've kind of based it around those kind of things, and it gives us an opportunity to play somewhere else. And I mean, myself, I like it back in the Northeast. So to me, it's like the best of both worlds. I'm good, but we've been recording some stuff, kind of slowly, but we decided to put one of these songs out before we go here in the next week or so. So I think he sent me something a few hours ago. I think it's about ready. I mean, we'll get it on Spotify and everything, but he can send it to you, probably.
Made her way all through the dark, might have to park to recover all her losses and forget who was her boss. 10 miles out of La Jolla, things are annoying on a phone that failed to block. Instead got the alarm clock.
What happened to him there? He was on.
I don't know. He was 18, man.
I'm here. You can't see me?
Oh, there you are.
Hello.
There you are.
Come on. I've been here for a while, listening to you guys yet.
Oh, I think you have to talk. That's what it is. If you
He
sit
hasn't
silent,
officially started. We were just talking about some stuff in general.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I hear my dad has frequented Curran's a few times over the years. He's very excited.
Oh, really? Oh,
he's like, he lives in Albany. He's like, where are you playing? I'm like, we're playing in Philadelphia. He's like, where? He's like, Curran's. He's like, oh yeah, I've been there a bunch of times. he does this. He's in a Irish rowing club, so they go there after they row.
Oh,
over
that's
the years.
tremendous. Oh,
So
that's
if there's an
great.
Irish, if there's an Irish bar in the U.S., he's probably been to it. He's
He
like, oh
knows
yeah, I've
it.
been
Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry, you can talk so I can look at the back. Is that your studio that you're in?
there. No, that's just a picture. I'm at
Oh,
yeah. That's just a little picture. Although I do have that amp right there, so that it's fairly accurate. Fairly accurate.
okay.
But
See, he lives. I live in Santa Monica, which he used to, but now John lives up, about 100
I live.
miles north past Santa Barbara. So anytime we play and people say, "Where are you guys from?" I'm always like, "Well, we're from a lot of places." We've got members from like L.A., from Santa Monica to Solvang is where he lives around, which
Yeah.
is north of
So
Santa Barbara. So
That's
we've
if you ever
all
saw the
that
movie
the
Side,
territory covered.
that
if
could
you
all
ever
be.
saw the movie Sideways, that's where I live. So.
Bumping in Reno near a casino, could be Texas or LA. Stuck in a distillery, looks like buffoonery. Wars, love stats, and night stars. Bumping in Reno, better go hide in the car.
We covered this before, is the origin of the name. I had stated that when I got the album, I love intelligent songwriting. The first thing was I did not know what a derecho was. I'm like, what? This is a catchy song, and I do not know what this word is. So I looked it
Yeah.
up, and all right, so I got an education, and the next thing that brought me to is the band name, the POPRAVINAS, and so I kind of know the story. But could you explain the origin of the name of the POPRAVINAS?
Yeah, it's oddly enough, Jim, it came from your part of the world there, because when I was a teenager, my relatives had a cabin in the woods pretty close to Amish country in an area called Honeybrook. And even it was pretty deep in the woods there, but my I was just a teenager, but my uncle, who was quite a fun guy, to put it mildly, quite a drinker, he had fallen asleep in his Volkswagen all night from drinking. And in the morning, I woke up and he got out of the Volkswagen. He came over there was a bubbling brook there. He came over to the bubbling brook and immediately took a beer out. And he looked at me and he showed it to me. He goes, "You see this beer here? This is a Popravina." That's how he said it. Popravina. That's first drink in the morning in Polish or Czech, because he's 100% Czechoslovakian.
Right.
And I just laughed, and it's one of those things that just stuck with me through the years. And when we started this band, I just put it out there, well, could try this name, the Popravinas, and that's kind of where it came from. Some people think it has to do with pop or something. I mean, it does. Like the guy last week when we played International Pop Overthrow, he said, well, they've got pop in their name, but it could be pronounced Popravinas or Popravinas, but the way it was initially described to me was Popravinas.
And it's with
So
the
that was,
exclamation point at the end. It's always the
yeah,
exclamation point.
yeah,
Of course.
yeah,
Right.
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where it came from, and oddly enough, it was in your part of the country there
That's
that
great.
came from.
And also tell me where else you're going to be playing, just so we can think. So you're coming out. You're playing 2 other shows, right? You're playing one in Washington or down in Baltimore area.
Baltimore.
It's going to start in Baltimore on Wednesday, the 6th, at a place called the Crown there in Baltimore, with 2 other Baltimore bands. In fact, John knows who they are.
One of them's called the first band's called the Starlings, and after us is called the Silverites. And the Starlings are a little more kind of I guess alt country-ish, and the Silverites are a little more pop rock, power pop. So 2 bands that are kind of like sound exactly like us. So it's going to be a real fun night, and I think they share some members, so that's going to be a lot of fun too. So we're looking forward to playing with them. It's going to be a good night.
It's funny now that you're
Yeah, so that's Wednesday. That's Wednesday the 6th,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 7th, obviously in Philly with yourself at Curran's. And then Friday the 8th is in Brooklyn at a place called Freddie's Bar. So it's those 3 nights in a row that we're doing. Yeah.
There's a question I was going to have. It's about the production. The guitar sounds were great on it, and it was just an aside. Direct in or amps or Sims?
Both.
Okay.
So it's a combination of both. For that album, I mostly use, well, there's a whole
I'm
bunch
thinking
of
something specific. I'll give you some specifics.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, give me specific. I'll try to remember.
The lead guitars in Reno in the
Bunkin' and Reno? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Go, 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 go. Bunkin' and Reno near a casino. Still haven't left for LA. Laid out in Truckee, driving there was misery. On a tank, 8:30. Bunkin' and Reno, we didn't get very far.
Exactly. Recording that because that was during the pandemic, and I had my setup at home, and I had this really cool little Roland Cube amp, which has a really specific sound, but it has a really good direct out, and it has a really good, it cuts through the mix. And I've heard other bands over the years use it for guitar solos on some pretty huge albums, that just for some reason it cuts through a little better. So and plus I kind of wanted that clean direct kind of sound for the rhythm guitar I was playing, that's kind of doing those chords the whole time, and the little bouncy thing. And because I really wanted that specific clean, straight into the soundboard kind of direct sound. So I used that direct in that. And I did record that. I remember I was in my underwear recording that because I just woke up and Eddy had sent it, and I was like, I better, work on this. And that was probably 1.5 takes. I just played right through it, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. So,
that was the right song to be in your underwear.
I know. We try not to overplay it. I mean I had, for some reason, I had the right amount of caffeine and the right amount of underwear, and I had the right bounce to that song. You don't really want that song to be too polished because it has more of a wild kind of character to it. But I was going for that. I was going for that older, clean, direct country sound. Speaking of Bakersfield, I guess, so that kind of
sure
Bakersfield sound. But that song turned out pretty awesome. It was a little different for us, I mean, we do have some songs that are in that kind of style, but that tempo and sound was a little. We had one on a song like that called "Alone Ain't So Bad." That would probably be the closest one, though we had a couple albums before on our California Sonic record. So
okay,
so it was good to get back to that. We hadn't really done that style for a couple of records. So
the other thing I was talking to Eddy about too is the harmonies are really fantastic. You guys,
nice.
Great harmonies in on that. So,
Eddie's got
who mostly sings lead. I mean, it's not.
Eddie's the lead. Eddie's the lead singer for sure.
Okay.
He's got this really unique kind of low voice with a little bit of a Pittsburgh accent, and so I think it sets us apart from a lot of bands that have the similar musical sound. I think he is more of like, it's almost like a Joey Ramones kind of voice, but with this like power pop all country sound, which is very. I remember when I first met him and got the demo that he gave me. The vocals kind of stood out as being very original sounding for that kind of music. So he's definitely the lead singer, and I don't even think he sings too many harmonies. Maybe on a few here and there. Little bit.
You sing the harmonies. You sing.
John is definitely the harmony guy. Yeah. I mean, he grew up on the Beach Boys, and
we
both like the Beach Boys, but
I got a pretty. I'm a pretty good arranger.
Emulate that more than I can.
I went to school for music and all that stuff, but I think as the albums went on, I tried to not go too overboard, and like especially the last album, I wanted to be a little more simpler and not as loud in the mix, and just kind of enhance it. I think before on some songs it was a little, not too much, but it was a little more harmonies, and I think we really kind of dialed it in on the last album to the good volume, and enhancing the overall vocals rather than just to show off and have like 3-part harmonies on choruses and stuff, you know.
Feasibility homebound, making profits night and day.
Right. You said you went to, what was your major?
Well, I studied violin for like many years, 15 years growing up before I switched to guitar. So it was all this private lessons and things like that. And so now the last 20 years or so, I teach music on the side when I'm not playing to try to pay the bills. You know, it's kind of hard in California to pay the bills. It's pretty expensive.
I was an orchestral percussionist. That's why I went to
Oh, wow. Where did you go to school on the East Coast for that? Or?
Yeah, we at East Coast, Wilkes University, or actually Wilkes College. It was college at Wilkes-Barre.
In Pennsylvania? Oh,
So
awesome.
Eddy would know where that is. Eddy know where Wilkes-Barre
And
is.
now you play the mandolin because it's easier to carry around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I still play drums and I do sound. So I don't know. I didn't figure that out. But
Well, you know, if our drummer gets sick, hopefully he won't. You'll have to sub for him.
well, the band. By the way, the band that I do have a band that's open for you. Long Friend, Time Friend. They're fantastic. They've done an event for us before. Actually, they had in 2021. They had the #2 album of the year right behind Slap Magic. If Me Dies,
awesome.
Me Dies. They're tremendous. So
I am holding on, not getting any sleep, barely holding on. With every
they're tremendous. So they're very excited. So they're going to be opening up.
Tremendous.
And
Eddie likes to use that word tremendous. That's one of his favorite adjectives.
I'm a big tremendous. I'm fantastic. I use
His other one is fine. He likes to use it. That's fine. Seems fine. Seems fine is his huge compliment from Eddie. If he goes, yeah, that seems fine, that means it's really, really good.
Good. All right, that's good. So,
I'm traveling with our mercurial keyboardist Brian the Wanderer Haney. So we have to hit up all the pawn shops and guitar centers with him, you know. So
style influence. Graham Parsons, Flying Burrito Brothers. A little bit, or no? What did you guys listen to?
Eddie, you go first.
Well, John probably listens to some stuff different than myself. John probably does, even though I mean it's similar stuff. I mean, as far as my influences, it's probably it's kind of reiterated too many times, but I mean the Replacements would be up there. I mean the Rolling Stones from earlier days. Those would be two. You know, I mean, you mentioned things like Graham Parsons. You know, for the alt country songs that we do. You know, certainly those kind of influences, but pretty, you know, pretty straight ahead. You know, pop rock stuff. You know, maybe John can explain it even better.
Yeah, I mean, I like a ton of stuff. I mean, I think for this band, obviously, we're influenced, you know, the big three: Beatles, Beach Boys, Rolling Stones. You know, kind of bands that are kind of contemporary sounding like us, but there are, you know, I mean, usually I like to listen to my friends' music and, you know, newer bands like that. But as far as that influenced this band, I'm probably more heavily influenced by the 60s, 70s rather than the 80s. But, you know, Tom Petty sneaks in there for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, you know, if we were to, you know, that just the quality and the longevity, you know, especially Mike Campbell. Like the last show I saw was a hard rock band called Tesla from the 80s. They were playing, but then I'm going to go see Van Morrison in a few weeks too, and then I'm going to see some bands that are newer as well.
I'd say probably like earlier Wilco actually was somewhat of an influence here between John and I.
Yeah,
I know he was into that back.
Yeah, Uncle Tupelo with both of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but I like their. Oh, my dog's barking. Yeah, I mean, but even up into their like, Summer Teeth album where it gets a little more rockin',
Yeah.
stuff like that. Nowadays, I'm not their stuff was a little sleepy and pedestrian,
Yeah, first
a little
couple
too,
albums.
a little too shoegazer for me, but
Yeah.
But I like newer bands like the Sheep. Well, they're not that new, but the Sheepdogs. The Sheepdogs from Canada.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're great. I like them and stuff like that. So.
Awesome. Good. All right, guys. Well, I'm not going to take up much more of your time. I just want to thank you so much.
You can bug us whenever you want.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
All right. We'll
Yeah,
see
we
you.
will definitely see you.
See you at the
soon.
bar. See you at the
We'll
bar.
see
is
you at
what
the
I like to
bar.
say.
We're going to see you at the bar. That's right, man. All right, man. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
cheers.
All right, have a safe trip. Safe travel.
Okay.
All right, man. Be good.
All right. Thanks a lot,
Take
Jim.
See you later.
Right.
Bunking in Reno, we didn't get very far. Bunking in Reno, thinking about selling the car. Bunking in Reno, I'll see you at the bar.